Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. My name is Matt Morris. We are live right now on YouTube, as well as on Rumble, as well as on Twitch, at, of course, Matt Morris TV. Ladies and gentlemen, boy, howdy, do we have one hell of a show. We have a lot to talk about today, folks. We have massive updates pertaining to all of the Democrat-sponsored fraud that's been taking place all across this entire country for God knows how long. Guess what? Now, the Democrats, they are actually trying to make it illegal to investigate their fraud. They are trying to make it a crime to investigate the fraud that they have participated in, perhaps been the beneficiaries of. But, as a little bit of a spoiler here, I don't think that the Democrats are going to be getting away with this. We're going to break it all down. We also have today, as of just a couple hours ago, some absolutely bombshell news coming from none other than our current FBI Director, Kash Patel, over at the FBI. Let's just say that if you have been eagerly waiting to see some criminal justice finally get dispensed in this country, well, ladies and gentlemen, I think today we have some good news. Okay, I've been waiting for this. It seems like all of this might finally be upon us. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, perhaps the biggest story of the day that right now everyone around the entire world is talking about, we have some massive news pertaining to a little country, well, really a pretty big country, called Iran. You see, President Trump has just given one last final deadly ultimatum to the now infamous Iranian regime. Will they accept it? Really, will they accept the reality of this entire situation? Well, we're going to break it down piece by piece, component by component. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in the right place this morning. Everyone, thank you all very much for tuning in this lovely Sunday morning. What is it? It is April 19th. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. If you're new to the show, make sure to hit that like button before you forget about it. It really helps a lot. Make sure to subscribe. It helps a lot on YouTube, Rumble, everywhere. Follow me everywhere other than in real life. With that little preamble out of the way, what do you say we go ahead and get right into the news? Now, we have some smaller stories, of course, I want to sort of kick off today's broadcast with. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, federal authorities have arrested an Iranian woman at the Los Angeles International Airport, alleging that she was brokering deals to sell Iranian-made drones, bombs, explosive bomb fuses, assault weapons, and millions of rounds of ammunition. She was apprehended in the Los Angeles International Airport this morning. Kid you not.
This story just into our newsroom this morning. A Los Angeles woman arrested for trafficking arms on behalf of the Iranian government. Correspondent Max Gordon is in the Southland with more on that for us. Max, a crazy story with incredible pictures from the airport.
Yeah, absolutely, Kevin. Last night, 44-year-old Shamim Mafi, an Iranian national now living in the L.A. area, was arrested at LAX just before getting on a flight to Turkey. She's accused of trafficking arms on behalf of the Iranian government. According to the FBI's Iran counterintelligence squad, Mafi is accused of selling Iranian-manufactured bombs, drones, assault weapons, and millions of rounds of ammunition to Sudan. Mafi was allegedly coordinating with the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. According to the federal government, one of the contracts was worth 60 million euros, brokering the sale of Iranian-made drones between Iran's defense ministry and Sudan. In another instance, Mafi is accused of selling 55,000 bomb fuses to the Sudanese military. According to the criminal complaint, Mafi is a lawful permanent U.S. resident, though not a citizen. She was born in Iran, relocated to Turkey, but most recently has lived in Woodland Hills, California. Mafi travels frequently to Iran, Turkey, Oman, and other countries, and according to the feds, executed her illegal weapons brokering scheme from multiple locations, including right here in California. She's currently charged with conspiracy to violate the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. If convicted, Mafi faces up to 20 years in federal prison. Kevin?
This is so weird because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just a simple man. I'm having a difficult time making sense of this entire situation because I have been told time and time and time again that we didn't have any Iranian sleeper cells or that Iran was no threat to the United States at all, when in fact we actually have we have arms dealers working in tandem with the Iranian regime, living in Woodland Hills, California. That's so weird because I've been told, all of us have been told time and time again that there was no threat, there's no problem at all. Very curious. A contract, what, 60 million euros while living in the United States, not a citizen, a legal resident, looked into this. Can you guess who granted her legal residency? Can you take a guess here? That's right. It was the Joe Biden administration. Wow. So the Joe Biden administration granted a woman from Iran, she's an Iranian regime arms dealer, selling weapons, bombs, explosives, fuses, drones from the Iranian regime to, in this case, it was the Sudanese government in Africa, or somebody in Sudan over in Africa, signing off on 60 million pound or euro contracts while living in Woodland Hills, California. Astounding. I thought this wasn't happening. I guess it is. Now, we also have news, ladies and gentlemen, something else that we have been told by the Democrats and various members of the radical far left, something that they've said is not happening. As it would turn out, guess what? Illegal aliens actually have been voting in our elections. We had a massive statement this morning from Assistant Attorney General Harmy Dillon. Take a listen to this. She's breaking it all down.
So what specific facts have you found? You just said there was lying and cheating. What can you tell us in terms of verifying that information? And I know you've been trying to go state by state to clean up voter rolls. What are you doing in that regard?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. We have a comprehensive effort. I've requested the voter rolls from all states in the District of Columbia. About a third of the states have voluntarily complied with us or reached settlements with us, and we've run some of those records, so I'll talk about that in a minute. I'm suing 29 states and the District of Columbia for their refusal to give us the voter rolls, to which the Attorney General or the Acting Attorney General is entitled under the Civil Rights Act of 19.
Ladies and gentlemen, why do you think 29 individual states and the District of Columbia might not want to hand over their voter rolls to the Department of Justice? Can anybody concoct, can you envision any reason why they might be reluctant? Well, it's probably because they're engaging in voter fraud. That's my guess as a simple man.
1960. We're doing that to make sure that states are in compliance. And guess what? States are not in compliance, even those ones who want to. So for the ones that we've run so far, 60 million records that we've run, we found at least 350,000 dead people currently on the voter rolls in those jurisdictions. And we've referred approximately 25,000 people with no citizenship records to the to Homeland Security to look at dig into that further and see the extent to which people voted. I'm in touch with voting rights activists who are showing me information about people who have voted who are not American citizens. And so the left told us this never happens and it's a myth. It definitely happened. Just recently, someone was indicted in Minnesota, of all places, for voting without being a citizen. And so I've sent a document request to them on that. Minnesota has a weird vouching law that allows citizens to vouch for each other's citizenship. That's crazy and inconsistent with the Help America Vote Act. And we're not going to rest until we complete this project. Now, Maria, your audience would like to know perhaps that 5 states have actually had federal judges rule against us in this very simple request to get the voter rolls. It's such a basic voting hygiene concept in the Ninth Circuit, in the Sixth Circuit in Michigan, and just recently Rhode Island last week. And so we're expediting the appeals in these cases. There'll be an appeal in the Ninth Circuit and the Sixth Circuit soon.
And by the way, we've already seen 2 different appellate courts rule in favor of the DOJ, saying that these states actually do, in fact, have to hand over the voting rolls. So don't get demoralized. Not all hope is lost. The appellate courts are, every time that we've seen so far, actually have pulled through for us on behalf of the American Republic. You can imagine if the appellate courts don't, if we run into a brick wall in the appellate courts, this is going to the Supreme Court at some point. So, ladies and gentlemen, she says 29 individual states, there's still ongoing legal battles. We've won a couple appellate court victories. Other state level judges are saying, no, we're not going to work with you. What type of state level judges? Well, these are like radically progressive members of the judiciary. We have become very familiar with these type of judges over the last couple months, over a year or so, years now. What did she say? She said, so far, with the states that have agreed to comply, generally speaking, these are red states, states that are agreeing to comply. Okay, take a look at our voter rolls. It's all good. We're red states. We've got nothing to hide. Even so, even in those small, like a dozen or so states that have handed over their voter rolls, she said they've already found hundreds of thousands of dead people on the voter rolls, illegal aliens on the voter rolls, illegal aliens and dead people voting, actively voting, not just on the rolls, but voting. Another thing to keep in mind, who here has at one point lived in one state and then you move into another state? A year ago, I was living in Washington. Now I live in Idaho. Oftentimes, whenever you move out of a state, your name stays on the previous state's voter rolls. And sometimes we've had people that don't even live in that state anymore. Guess what? They end up voting somehow for Democrats somehow. I had this thought about a month ago. I said, man, am I still registered in Washington state? I used to be. I got to make sure I'm not registered because I don't want to be voting Democrat in Washington when I don't even live there anymore. You know what I mean? We've seen that type of stuff happen very mysteriously. Dead people, people that don't live there anymore, illegal aliens. So this is why we need to get a hold of the voter rolls. Democrats are trying to slow walk this. It's not going to hold up. We are winning this battle very slowly, but they're trying to slow walk all of this. Now, as it pertains to this, we have an update from the director of the USCIS. He says, we've declared full-scale war on immigration fraud. Good. Thank God. Take a listen.
What's your message to the two different people? The folks out there committing the fraud, and then the folks that might be seeing it. What should they be looking for so they can blow the whistle? Final one to you.
Well, in terms of the people that might be seeing it, vigilance is always going to be the key. Let us know. We are going to continue to set up tip lines, especially as we have our new special agents on board. We want to know what you're seeing so that we can investigate it. No tip is too small. We will look into it along with our partners at ICE and with CBP. And in terms of the people that are perpetrating fraud, stop, because we're going to find you. And even if you've already done it and you think you've gotten away with it, we're going back. As you noted earlier, we are looking at old cases. We are going back and re-vetting cases for people who were granted green cards and granted other benefits during the Biden administration when there was no vetting. There's vetting now, and we're looking at these old cases. So be prepared to face the consequences.
Thank God. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to digress off into a little bit of a monologue here before we continue on with today's broadcast. I want to tell you something that I think you're going to appreciate. As many of you know, my wife, we've been married 5.5, almost 6 years. She's an immigrant, a legal immigrant. She has her green card. We did it the right way from Germany. She's a German woman, as a German woman can be. And so she's been here for about 6 years. She's been on a green card. She is actually working. She's very close to getting her U.S. citizenship. We're both very excited about that. Everybody's excited about that. So she wants to be U.S. citizen. So we have been working through, over the last year or so, through the USCIS process. You just heard from the director of the USCIS. My wife has been working through the USCIS process to get her citizenship. Now, I'll tell you something. About 2 months ago, we had an appointment at this big USCIS building. We had to drive into town. It was a long drive, go out of our way. We live in the middle of nowhere. We drove into town, went to the big skyscraper USCIS building, and I'll tell you something. Something very strange happened in this USCIS building. We were there. It was Friday afternoon, probably 2 in the afternoon, sunny day. We went into this big, massive USCIS building where they should be processing immigrants and people getting green cards and visas and all of it, you know. We were there for about an hour in total. Nobody was there. It was a massive building. We went up to the 7th story, up the elevator. Nobody was there. We were the only ones. Me and my wife, our 2 kids. It was like eerie. And so we went up, we talked to the lady at the counter. I was shocked. I said, ma'am, where is everybody? It's a ghost town. And she said, well, You want to know the honest answer? She said, during the Joe Biden administration, every day here at this building, we would have maybe 100 or 150 appointments per day, helping people with their visas and citizenship and whatever. We'd see 100 to 150 people per day. She said, since Trump got back into the White House, we see maybe 2 people per day. 2! We've had days, she said, where we've seen nobody. On average, we get 2 people a day. Since Trump got back in the White House, it was at that point about a year ago. I said, wow. Ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, firsthand experience, President Trump, both legal and illegal, has totally cracked down on immigration. Seriously, it's the matter of fact, it's the matter. It was like eerie going through this building. I was like, what's going on? Where is everybody? So, you know what? Maybe it's a good thing. You know what? Hey, it's probably a good thing. Is that what you voted for? Give me a real quick yes or no in the chat. Personally, that is what I voted for. We want some of the good immigrants. You know, I'm a little bit biased. From Germany or Sweden or these South African white Boer farmers. Okay, you know what? That's fine. Maybe we have room for them in the country, but maybe some of the other immigrants, maybe we don't. From other places, maybe we don't need them. Has anybody said that these German immigrants or these Swedish immigrants are causing problems? Not really. You know, not all immigrants are the same. That's a sort of an uncomfortable truth, but it is a truth nonetheless. Not all immigrants are the same. Kind of depends where you're coming from, what country you're coming from, what your culture is. Some cultures are a little bit less compatible than others with our American values. But anyway, like I said, I digress. I was getting a little bit off in the weeds. I wanted to share that story, though, because maybe it is good news. Trump has shut it down. I'm telling you, folks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we get to some other big news today that I would love to share with you. Before we do, though, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. I appreciate it a lot. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not joking when I say this. Trust me, I wish I was. But now the Democrats are actually trying to make it illegal to investigate all of the fraud that they themselves have participated in. Seriously, you can't make this up. This is absolutely insane. And the reason why is because they know that they are screwed. At this point, everyone in the country with a functioning brain in their heads knows that the Democrats have been allowing, participating, and benefiting from some pretty seriously fraudulent activities, to say the least. In fact, before we really break down this Democrat initiative to shut down the investigations into their fraud and what we are going to do to stop it, I want you to go ahead and take a look at this. Why don't we break down some of our recent fraud investigations?
What is the response to Democrats arguing that this rooting out of fraud, that it's cutting Medicaid services? What is your response to that?
None at all. They know it's manufactured. That's why when they say this sort of, like sheepishly mention the possibility that you might once in a while hurt someone that's innocent. I argue that if you take a child with autism and you give them the services they need, you're doing a great service. It's the right thing to do. We're great people. We'll always help folks in need. Yeah. But if every mother is pretending because they're getting paid that the children in the neighborhood have autism, which is bad for those kids, by the way.
And you're seeing that.
And we're seeing that in Minnesota. You take a budget from $3 million to $400 million. You do that by creating programs and manufacturing services that aren't supposed to be used. But what you're doing is you're hurting the child who really has autism because they can't get access to services. It's true. And you're corrupting the entire system. We're seeing the same thing in California with hospice, where you have 1/3 of all the hospices, Katie, in the entire country are in Los Angeles, not California, just LA.
1/3 of all hospices in the country are in Los Angeles. Oh my good Lord.
I mean, how many people are dying there?
Yeah.
Right. So you obviously have allowed
a little bit of red flag.
And I'll make this announcement in your show. We have stopped payments to 450 hospices in California. Guess what? Not one has called us asking to reinstitute them.
Wow.
They may change their minds over time.
Wow.
But in 10 weeks, we've shut down 450 payment systems to these guys. That's representing at least $700 million just this year. And no one's complaining.
Did you hear that? In the last couple of weeks, they've shut down 450 hospices in this country. I think he said actually California specifically. And not one of them has picked up the phone to argue, hey, you got the wrong person. Hey, we are a legitimate business. They know they've been caught. They're not going to argue this. Check this out. We've got even more news. Caught. This is a new report coming out today from the Department of Human Health Services, the Office of the Inspector General of the Department of Human Health Services. Over 7,600 fake diplomas were distributed for nursing jobs across the United States of America. This investigation involved many international nursing candidates, including those from India and Haiti, who purchased their fake nursing credentials so that they could work in the United States of America. Aspiring nurses from India and Haiti bought fake documents to pass the nursing board exam so that they could get licensed in various states in the U.S., securing jobs across the United States. So, much to absolutely no one's surprise, in India and Haiti, and I'm sure various other countries across the world, there are fake diploma and fake nursing certificate mills. They're churning these out. It's all fake. You can spend money. Hey, I'll give you $2,000. You give me a nursing degree. Do I have any idea am I really a medical professional? No, I have no idea what to do, but I got my fake degree, and now I can get a visa to go to the United States, and now I can take care of sick Americans, even though these people aren't even qualified at all. Good Lord. So this is getting cracked down on. Also, over 7,600 have already been cracked down on. Thank God. We've got other news today. I think you're going to like this. Have a report coming out. Since January of 2025, since President Trump got back in the White House, the Trump administration, guess what, has revoked over 12,000 commercial driver's licenses from drivers across the country with poor English proficiency. They don't speak English. And they've shut down over 7,000 CDL, commercial driver's license mills. They've been stripped of their accreditation. Folks, so not just nursing degrees or nursing certifications, but also commercial driver's license mills have been pumping out, selling illicit commercial driver's licenses. And now the Trump administration is shutting that down as well, shutting down the license mills and also stripping the commercial driver's licenses from people that got these fake CDLs from the license mills. Thank God, that's exactly what we need to see. You might have been wondering, where is all of this money going in the state of California? It goes missing, it disappears, it's fraudulent. Well, we have one report coming out today. What's going on here?
Say this man was contracted with the city and county of Los Angeles to house and feed up to 600 homeless people, but instead he was misusing tens of millions of dollars to live a luxurious life. Exclusive Fox video shows the Fed's early morning bust here at the LA mansion. 42-year-old Alexander Suker was arrested. Suker's $125,000 Land Rover was also seized by law enforcement. The Fed say Suker defrauded the city and county of LA out of $23 million in taxpayer dollars for not only his mansion and car, but a second home in Greece, luxury vacations, designer clothes, and private schools.
Don't you wish you had a vacation home in Greece? Don't you wish you had $125,000 rent? My car is $20,000. He defrauded $23 million from California state taxpayers. This is what we're talking about here. And finally, they're getting cracked down on. We're shutting it down.
He was living the high life while the people suffering homeless on the streets with no shelter, no food. They're living out in the streets. People are literally dying. And this guy is out vacationing, buying homes, buying Range Rovers, and going shopping.
Prosecutors say Suker was supposed to provide 3 nutritional meals a day to the homeless, but during one inspection, Suker only had canned beans and ramen noodles on hand. The feds say Suker lied about various aspects of abundant blessings, including fake vendors, facilities, and the homeless actually getting meals. The U.S. Attorney's Office in L.A. says they are actively investigating at least 12 other similar fraud cases here in California. First Assistant U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley says there's a tremendous amount of fraud in this state and that today's bust of one man who misused $23 million alone may show how little oversight there is.
California was pushing this money out quickly. A lot of money went out the door with, frankly, very little vetting, very little checks and balances, and he's one of the individuals that got it.
The suspect is scheduled to make his first appearance later today. He faces up to 20 years if convicted on a federal case. The local district attorney is also planning on prosecuting. John.
Folks, what is our national debt at right now? What is it? $39 trillion, $41 trillion, whatever it is, it's up there. What do you want to bet that we actually would have zero national debt right now if for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years we did not have this type of behavior taking place in this country? As far as I'm concerned, our national debt, whatever the hell that number is, that is the degree to which our country has been defrauded by people taking advantage of federally funded and state-funded welfare programs, etc. In my mind, that's how I view that. I would bet my life that we would not have $1 of national debt if not for this type of stuff getting taken advantage of by people that are predacious like this. And of course, all of this is happening, a lot of this is happening in the great state of California. Now, we heard a statement earlier this morning from Steve Hilton, who is currently the Republican gubernatorial frontrunner in the current gubernatorial race. Take a listen to this.
Just like Gavin Newsom, he fixed the homelessness problem many years ago. He kept announcing that he's fixed it while the problem gets worse. I mean, this guy's a total disgrace, Gavin Newsom. If it's been fixed, then why is the money still going out? He says it was fixed in 2021. Those payments were from 2024. Right. He's just lying and gaslighting as he is on every single issue. And the truth is that California has got more fraud than the rest of America put together. Yep. And Dr. Oz is absolutely right. We need cooperation with the federal government. When I'm governor, that's what we'll get. In the meantime, I mean, we're trying to find it as well. My organization, Cal Doge, part of my campaign, we estimate now that the total fraud in the last 5 years in California, $434 billion. And what are they doing about it? Nothing, because they have total contempt for taxpayers. They don't consider it that it's our money that they're stealing and wasting, and that is why they're going to lose this year. They got just like Gavin. That
is absolutely, and you know what's most insane? California governor, current governor, Gavin Newsom, he's got presidential aspirations right now. In fact, he might even be the Democrat presidential frontrunner. If the election was held today, he might become the Democrat candidate. Who knows? We can't let that happen. Not after what he's just gotten done doing in the state of California. Now, like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the Democrats in California, imagine that, are trying to, I kid you not, make it illegal to investigate the fraud that they themselves have carried out. California Democrats are now pushing a bill that would slap independent journalist Nick Shirley or any independent journalist with a $50,000 felony fine if anybody dares to investigate or expose any of the fraud that is going on. Just to be clear, it is legal to do any type of drug or any type of illicit activity on the sidewalk in broad daylight on the streets of California. But if you try to investigate fraud, then that's a problem. The entire state has been flipped upside down. Take a listen to this.
Yeah, so if this passes, the fraud's going to continue to get worse and worse. And if I were to go look into the fraud at one of these NGOs, let's say, that receives money for migrants, I could receive a $4,000 civil fine, a $10,000 criminal fine, or a $50,000 felony if this bill gets passed. And not only that, they'll also have the power to take down my videos. And they're basically trying to bankrupt journalists from looking into the fraud.
Yeah, they're trying to bankrupt you after you're having to fund your own private security. But the American people collectively say thank you, Nick Shirley.
Yes, we do. In fact, I think in a lot of ways, Nick Shirley has kind of kicked all of this off. But now, I'll tell you what, folks, we are at the point in this entire process where now the left-wing government officials, the Democrats, who are guilty of committing the fraud, allowing the fraud, perhaps even benefiting themselves personally from the fraud. Well, now, what are they doing? They're attempting to make laws that would imprison anyone who tries to investigate their own fraudulent behavior. That is where we currently stand right now. Now, I'll tell you what. First off, I don't think this is going to pass. But hey, it's California. I don't know. I don't think it'll pass. But beyond that, even if it does, there is 0% chance that this is constitutional. Of course, this is an absolutely egregious violation of our great First Amendment freedom of speech, trying to punish journalists for investigating fraud within the government. This is something that would happen in some third world banana republic, not here in the United States of America. If the Democrats had their way with California, really the entire country, they would turn our great republic into a third world banana republic. We're not going to let it happen. Because why? We're putting America first. Ladies and gentlemen, there is our massive fraud update today. Things are moving along. We're making some headway here. This is what desperation looks like. They're trying to make it illegal. They're slapping fines on independent journalists. It is so funny. It is just so ironic. They call themselves the Democrats. We are the torch bearers of democracy. Nobody values democracy, the will of the people, more than we do. We're the Democrats. Meanwhile, hey, if you have the audacity to investigate our fraud, we're going to hit you with a felony charge and throw your ass in prison and a $50,000 fine. Independent journalists exercising their free speech rights. But anyway, no, we respect democracy and free speech and the will of the people. It's just absurd. It's absurd. And thank God, every single day that goes on, a decreasing number of Americans are buying the baloney the Democrats are trying to feed them. We don't want anything to do with them anymore, right? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we have another massive story here. Before we get to it, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. It helps a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, some good news here. Folks, if you're someone like me who's been waiting every single day on the edge of your seat, praying to finally see some serious criminal accountability in this country, well, guess what? Today, I think I have some good news for you. Folks, take a look at this. Kash Patel this morning, he's the current director of the FBI. Kash Patel says more arrests are coming related to Trump persecutions. It appears that James Comey will not be the only individual facing charges. Now today, namely, we're talking about the 2020 election and the Democrats' agenda to rig and steal that. I mean, they did successfully rig and steal that election. And now we are going to have some accountability for that. FBI Director Kash Patel this morning has obtained information supporting President Trump's statements that the 2020 election was in fact rigged. Take a listen to what he said this morning.
Hold on, because when you started this interview, you said, Maria, you and I have been working together for a long time. And this is exactly what you were referring to. You were on my show repeatedly talking about the Russia collusion story. And our audience wants to know why there's never any accountability. But specifically, the question that I asked you was about election integrity and whether or not you have any information to verify what President Trump says all the time, which is the election was rigged. That's what I asked you, Kash.
Ooh.
I'm sorry, Maria, I misheard. Yes, so what we are doing is folding that into our entire conspiracy case, and we will let the prosecution speak for him. But we have the information that backs President Trump's claim. But because it's an ongoing prosecution investigation, I can't get ahead of the DOJ and the president. But President Trump speaks truthfully when he says that, and that's what I've been telling you about. When we find terabytes of data on computers from the last 10 years that we were supposed to find 10 years ago. That's what it took. It took his re-election. It took this FBI to go in there and find it. And it takes a long time to get through that material. But I would say stay tuned this week. You might see a thing or two.
Stay tuned this week. The director of the FBI says we might see a thing or two. I've got more to share with you. He says they're building out a massive conspiracy case. We've heard the term RICO case, RICO charges, massive conspiracy case, folks. What seems to be the situation right now is that Trump's FBI and the DOJ, they are attempting to take down this corrupt, subversive, anti-American election rigging Democrat establishment in the very same way that the Italian mafia was taken down. They're treating them as one massive, almost mafia-like collective. They're building out the conspiracy charges. They were working together, colluding to undermine the democratic will of the American people and more. They are all getting taken down. that seems to be the case. In fact, piggybacking on that note, we also heard this morning on talking about that same topic from Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon. Let's see what she had to say about all this.
I want to get your take on who really was behind that impeachment process for President Trump. But even more important, give us your sense of what you just heard me talk with Kash Patel about, and that is the failure of any accountability. Our audience knows exactly what happened with the Russia collusion story. Yep. No one has been held accountable. Why not?
Well, Maria, thanks for having me this morning. And I heard Kash's remarks. I agree with them. And, you know, your folks need to understand that when we start these investigations, it takes time. We have to interview a lot of witnesses. We don't want to do what the other side did, which is just jump to conclusions. And so we're building strong cases. And I think your viewers are probably familiar with the fact that some of the judges out there, particularly judges appointed more recently, have been, doing their own form of lawfare by simply denying the Trump administration's valid cases in court on numerous different cases. And so we've experienced that at the Department of Justice. And so we're trying different tactics. We're putting teams together. I'm personally involved in some of the issues that we've talked about. Like Kash, I can't talk about things prematurely before they come to a grand jury or before we're able to announce them. But I can assure you that the whole Department of Justice is very committed to this. And Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche is continuing the work started under the Attorney General Pam Bondi. And we will have news in the very near future on these issues. And there's so many issues, Maria, like you just mentioned, the Atkinson situation. I mean, we just saw the news come out in the last couple of days about the CIA's weaponization of the government and intelligence officials to concoct a fake narrative regarding the Hunter Biden laptop and sign on and lie to the American people. And they did that, many of them, on the government dime. And so there are some serious violations that may come out of that as well.
So she said something very important. First off, she corroborated, she echoed everything Kash Patel just said. Soon, big stuff coming soon. Don't worry, we're not asleep at the wheel. We're building out the case. She said something about the Democrats here. During the Biden administration, the Democrats, they were like rabid. They were irrational. They were bloodthirsty. And because of that, they were so desperate and overly eager to send out criminal indictment, criminal indictment. They jumped the gun. Even though they were sending out indictments, these indictments, they ended up lacking proof, substance, evidence. Did any of these indictments the Democrats sent out during the Biden era, did any of them really stick or result in anything, in serious criminal accountability? Well, the answer is no. Yeah, they were spamming out indictments, but they didn't really get any of us, for lack of a better way to say. They didn't get any of the Republicans that they were aiming to get. And so the Trump DOJ, the Trump FBI, they're saying, we're not going to make the same mistake, if you can call it that the Democrats made. Before we send out any indictments or criminal referrals, we are going to make sure that these cases are bulletproof, airtight, rock solid, so that when we send these out, they stick. Okay? They said it takes time to make sure that happens. It takes time. You got to interview, you got to build, you got to connect all the dots. That's what they're doing behind the scenes. 2026 is going to be a very big year for criminal justice and criminal accountability. Okay? That seems to be the case. Now, what does President Trump say about all of this? You can't help but notice the timing. Ladies and gentlemen, last night, President Trump posted two very curious things on Truth Social. One, on Truth Social, he reposted something Elon Musk had said at one point. There will be consequences for those who pushed foreign interference hoaxes. The hammer of justice is coming. President Trump reposted this on Truth Social this morning. You can't help but notice this because it was also similarly this morning, FBI Director Kash Patel and Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, they both came out this morning and said, yeah, something's coming. We're building out the case. Keep your eyes peeled. This is not over. Justice will be delivered. What's more, President Trump also posted this morning.
Ago Just the News obtained this email. This is a very important email. It comes from the former CIA director, Mike Morrell. Yes, the guy that organized that letter from the 51 intelligence professionals who tried to fake you into thinking that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation when it wasn't. It is between him and John Brennan, one of the signatories. You know who John Brennan is? He was Obama's CIA director, right? He's the guy that told Obama, hey, Hillary Clinton is doing a dirty trick on Donald Trump called Russia collusion. Well, this is just before the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. Hunter Biden's laptop is flinging out there. This is what Mike Morrell, former CIA director, tells his successor, John Brennan. Hey, sign this letter because I'm, quote, trying to give the campaign, particularly during the debate on Thursday, a talking point to push back on Trump on this issue. A man with a security clearance, a man with the title of CIA director, knew that he wasn't creating an intelligence product, a mere civic duty with 51 people. He was trying to create a political moment. Damning evidence. We'll try to find out if Congress has this letter, but this is a very important piece. It is the ultimate proof that what went out on that letter was a political dirty trick coordinated with the Biden campaign.
Well, the Biden campaign, the Democrat establishment, the deep state, dare I say the deep state, colluding to undermine the outcome of not one, but two. This is, at this point, this is the 2024 election. They also tried to do the 2020 election, or flip that. They tried to rig the 2016 election also with the Russia. There's not an election that President Trump has participated in that the Democrats, the Democrat establishment, the deep state did not try to fabricate evidence to influence and undermine the democratic will of the American people. They've tried it 3 times. One time they did it successfully. They pulled it off. It was the 2020 election. And finally now we're going to see, we're on the cusp of seeing some serious, legitimate criminal accountability. And every indication we have says it's coming very soon. And you know what? Good. Thank God. This is the type of stuff we need to see if we want to truly put America first. Ladies and gentlemen, there's our massive update with criminal accountability coming up. I want to say real quick to follow that up here. Take a breath. I know a lot of people, in fact, me, all of us, there's been a cacophony, an uproar. We've all been saying, where is the criminal accountability? Where is the justice? Why have we not seen it by now? And this is what I say every single time. If the Trump administration or the DOJ, Trump's FBI, if they are planning to bring these people to justice and send out criminal indictments and actually solve this problem, dispense justice, does it make sense to do it 9 months ago? Or does it make sense to do it at the height of midterm season where it will have the maximum impact in the political zeitgeist and impact midterms? So as everybody gets ready for midterms, who am I going to vote for? I don't know. You're thinking, whoa, we just got the proof that the Democrats attempted to rig 2016, 2020, 2024. Wow, that sure is going to influence my vote. You know what I mean? I think there is a timing to this. There is some strategic timing. Maybe they could have started sending out criminal indictments 4, 5, 6, 10 months ago. I don't know. Maybe they could have. Us Americans, I'll speak for myself, we all kind of have short political memories. Can anybody tell me the biggest political news story 7.5 weeks ago? I don't know. Probably not, right? Generally, we live on the 24-hour news cycle, maybe the week-long, 7-day news cycle at most. Whatever happened 3 months ago, that's old news. Nobody's talking about it now. And so I think Trump understands this. The Trump administration gets this. There is a proper time to release information like this or start sending out indictments and making legitimate arrests when you can time it up for maximum impact. And I think that's what's going on here. So this is why I've been saying 2026 is going to be a big time year. Big year, okay? You got to time it up. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we're going to start talking about, I don't know if you guys have heard about this. There's all of this drama in the Middle East and Iran. Have you guys heard about this thing in Iran? Everybody's talking about it these days. It's a little bit chaotic. There's ups and downs. Today, some massive news. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get into it. Have you heard about this whole thing in Iran? Everybody's talking about it. There's always something going on. Let's break it down. Ladies and gentlemen, President Trump has just now given the Iranian regime an absolutely deadly ultimatum. Either capitulate entirely immediately, or you can go ahead and say goodbye to all of your bridges and power plants and really the entirety of the IRGC. Let's take a look at what he had to say this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, as President Trump posted on Truth Social just a couple hours ago now, he said this: Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. Many of them were aimed at a French ship and a freighter from the United Kingdom. That wasn't nice, was it? My representatives are going to Islamabad, Pakistan. They will be there tomorrow evening for negotiations. Iran recently announced that they were closing the Strait of Hormuz, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it. They're helping us without even knowing, and they are the ones that lose with the closed passage. $500 million per day, in fact, they are losing. The United States loses nothing. In fact, many ships are headed right now to the United States, Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska to load up with oil, American oil, compliments of the IRGC, always wanting to be the tough guy. We are offering a very fair and reasonable deal, and I hope that they take it, because if they don't, the United States of America is going to knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran. No more Mr. Nice Guy. They'll come down fast, they'll come down easily, and if they don't take the deal, it will be my honor to do what has got to be done, which should have been done to Iran by other presidents for the last 47 years. It's time for the Iran killing machine to come to an end. President Donald J. Trump. Here's the ultimatum. This ceasefire is set to expire about 2 days from now. He says he's sending once more a negotiatory delegation, presumably Witkoff and Kushner, maybe J.D. Vance, maybe not J.D. Vance this time, over to Islamabad, Pakistan. They're going to have talks again. We'll see how fruitful those are. Now, we had a report about this coming out this morning. Take a listen to this.
I just spoke with President Trump for about 20 minutes, and he told me if Iran does not sign this deal, the whole country is getting blown up. He went on to say that bridges and power plants will be targeted if Iran does not sign this agreement. The president telling me that U.S. Special Envoys Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff are heading to Islamabad, Pakistan for meetings on Tuesday, possibly into Wednesday, to try and get this agreement across the finish line. The president telling Fox News this is a very simple deal, but this is the last chance for the Iranians. The president very clear in our conversation that he is not making the same mistake that President Obama made, giving cash to the Iranians and allowing them to continue a nuclear program. The deal on the table is to reopen the Strait of Hormuz to ensure that the Iranians do not have this highly enriched uranium that is buried deep underground after Operation Midnight Hammer last summer. And again, the president telling Fox News that the entire country will be blown up. Bridges and power plants will be targeted if the Iranians do not sign this agreement.
You know what I think? Here's my personal opinion for what it's worth. President Trump has been trying to negotiate with the Iranian regime. He really, earnestly, sincerely has. He has been trying to work out a deal. He's been asking politely. He's been respectfully trying to get them to relinquish their nuclear program, hand over the enriched uranium, stop funding terror cells and proxies all across the region. Trump really, sincerely tried to use his words. He offered them the carrot. Now, I think President Trump has had enough. Now I think he really is finally ready to break out the stick in a way that we have not seen yet. That is my personal speculation. I think he's done with this. Now, we have a statement from the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, Ambassador Mike Waltz, this morning, breaking down this entire dynamic. Take a listen to this.
Well, the Iranian command and control and government is in absolute disarray because of the devastating attacks across its leadership. You're right. You heard the Iranian foreign minister say it's open, and then the IRGC step in and say, no, it's closed. Regardless, it's the blockade, the U.S. Navy, and President Trump who's ultimately deciding what gets in and out. So he has completely turned the tables on Iran's attempt to hold the entire world's economies hostage, on its attempt to punish the world as a result of this dispute over its nuclear program. But to your point, I promise you, I assure you, the United States doesn't trust anything. Any agreement that comes out will have to be verifiable and enforceable. And back to my position here in the United Nations, the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, and its nuclear inspectors, I'm confident will be a key part of whatever's resolved.
Well, I'll tell you what, listen, President Trump here is not the type of guy that is going to allow anyone, the Iranian regime or otherwise, to hold hostage international waters, highly valuable, high commerce, high transit international waters, in an attempt to extort money or blackmail money out of any country that wants to send a ship on through. You think Trump is going to just let them do that? No, of course he's not. In fact, a little bit of a fun American history fact. The reason why the United States, way back almost 250 years ago, the reason why we ever created the first U.S. Navy was because we were sick of having Barbary pirates attempt to extort money out of us in the Mediterranean. So we have a very long American history of refusing to capitulate to maritime pirates, waterway extortionists. That's not something we do here in America, and that's not something that President Trump is going to allow to happen. It's not going to happen. Now, more information coming out right now. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a journalist. His name is Barak Ravid. He spoke to President Trump this morning. We're going to read through what he said. President Trump told me in a brief phone call this morning, just 2 or 3 hours ago, that he is still optimistic about the upcoming round of negotiations with Iran and about the chance to reach a deal. But the Iranians themselves believe that Trump's optimistic statements are a deception and a cover for an upcoming surprise American attack. Trump said, "I feel good about this. The concept of the deal is already closed. I think we have a very good chance to complete this," President Trump said this morning. The Iranians, on the other hand, are lowering their expectations and even claiming that there is no negotiation round with the United States this week. Iranian officials suspect that the United States might even attack them before the end of the ceasefire on Tuesday night. They are panicking. There are several signs indicating that the Iranian paranoia might even be justified. The sensitive security discussion that Trump convened in the White House Situation Room yesterday, the reinforcements that the U.S. military continues to pour into the Middle East, and the fact that so far it hasn't been announced when Vice President Vance is supposed to go to Pakistan. So Trump is saying he's optimistic. He's saying that publicly. The Iranians, they are panicking. They are worried that all of this is a feint or a slight. I don't know, it could be. And that Trump is going to start dropping bombs in Iran. Well, it's not even a mystery. Trump is saying, listen, you take the deal or I will drop bombs in Iran. He's saying that publicly as of this morning. Now, we have an excellent write-up from a highly respected institute, the Institute for the Study of War, breaking down our current position. I want to go through this with you folks. Excellent detailing of where we currently stand. Posted just 2 or 3 hours ago. The Iranian political officials who will reportedly negotiate with the United States in Islamabad, Pakistan on April 21st, 2 days from now, neither have the authority to independently determine Iran's negotiating positions, nor are they driving decision-making back at home in Tehran. Well, that's a little bit of a problem. So the Iranian negotiators that are negotiating with us in Pakistan, they're not even the shot callers. That's a little bit of a problem. We've seen recently, of course, if I might digress here, we've seen the IRGC. They've gone rogue. They're doing their own thing. They're doing whatever they want now. Other key takeaways. U.S. Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner will attend the talks in Pakistan tomorrow or 2 days from now. Iran's negotiating delegation is expected to include Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf. We've seen them before. The upcoming talks appear focused on extending the ceasefire, which is set to expire on April 22nd. Iranian sources familiar with the negotiations stated that Iran expects that the ceasefire will be extended and that additional talks will occur if the negotiations on April 21st go well. Iran is allegedly, purportedly, banking on an extension of the ceasefire. It doesn't seem like Trump is interested in that. Does it seem like Trump wants a ceasefire extension? Trump wants a deal. Trump wants an unconditional deal is what he wants at this point. Trump seems like he's tired of waiting. The Iranian negotiating team does not have the authority to independently determine Iran's negotiating position, however. IRGC Commander Major General Ahmad Vahidi and other senior members of the IRGC have consolidated control and wielded significant influence over the negotiations thus far. We've seen this. There is a gap between what the Iranian politician negotiators want and what the IRGC diehard radicals want. As we said, the IRGC seems to have sort of gone rogue here. Iran is attempting to establish a protection racket of the Strait of Hormuz, likely to consolidate the IRGC's control over the strait and gain leverage over the United States in negotiations. Iran has reportedly decided to give vessels that pay a security fee and adhere to Iranian protocols priority to transit through the strait. Well, hold that thought, because yesterday we saw the IRGC firing on an Indian tanker. This tanker, they said themselves, they got permission to go through, and the IRGC still fired on them. Makes you think that, like, nobody's in control. It's just seems to be just total chaos inside of Iran right now. The IRGC has continued to prevent traffic through the Strait of Hormuz. The IRGC Navy reportedly forced 2 tankers yesterday attempting to transit through the strait to change course. That one of these is the Indian tanker I just mentioned a moment ago. Many vessels that intended to transit through the strait have now turned around. Yeah, they don't want to get shot at by a bunch of psychotic members of the IRGC. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we currently stand. It seems as if, one, there is this power struggle going on inside of Iran. Who's in charge? Maybe multiple people are in charge of different sort of micro factions. We've been saying Iranian regime. There might be 2 or 3 or 4 different Iranian regimes, if you will, at this time. You've got the political class. They seem to want to make a deal. They want to negotiate. They might even be ready to capitulate. They want to reopen the Hormuz. We know that. Abbas Araghchi said that, the foreign minister, yesterday. Seems like the IRGC is saying another thing. They want to shut down the Hormuz. They want it to continue to be shut down. They don't want to capitulate or surrender to Trump. Then you have perhaps a different faction of the IRGC that is actively shooting at Indian tankers sailing through the Hormuz that had previously paid the toll and gotten the green light, allegedly. India is notably a member of the BRICS Economic Alliance. Who else is a member of the BRICS Economic Alliance? Iran. So now the IRGC is shooting at their own economic allies. So when I say there might be 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, God knows how many Iranian regimes right now, that might be the case. Who the hell is in charge? President Trump remains optimism. But is he really optimistic, or is it all a show sort of to prep the field for another surprise bombing campaign? Time will tell, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll tell you what, President Trump, he really does seem like he's done with the games. Capitulate, surrender, or the bombing campaign continues, the targeted strikes continue. And you know what? Here's what I'll tell you. America first. Ladies and gentlemen, there's that massive update. That's where we currently stand. Now, before we move on to something else, somebody mentioned in the live chat here that we might actually have some Truth Social updates from President Trump himself. So bear with me here, folks. Before we move on to anything else, Has President Trump been posting anything here in the last hour or so that we need to take a look at? Well. There's something here. I'm not sure how consequential. Let's take a look at this here, folks. As of 37 minutes ago, President Trump says this. Today, an Iranian-flagged cargo ship named Tuska, nearly 900 feet long and weighing almost as much as an aircraft carrier, tried to get past our naval blockade. It did not go well for them. Ooh. The U.S. Navy guided missile destroyer USS Spruance intercepted the Tuska in the Gulf of Oman and gave them fair warning to stop. The Iranian crew refused to listen, so our Navy ship stopped them right in their tracks by blowing a hole in the engine room. Oh my God. Holy shit. Sorry, pardon my language. Wow. Goes on to say, right now, the U.S. Marines have custody of the vessel. The Tuska is under U.S. Treasury sanctions because of their prior history of illegal activity. We have full custody of the ship and are seeing what's on board. It's curious because first off, FAFO, they tried to FA, then they FO'd, first off, needs to be said. Beyond that, seems like this ship was pretty desperate to make its way out of the Hormuz. Very curious. This is the first time we've seen an Iranian-flagged cargo ship. It's a cargo ship, not a tanker, a cargo ship that has attempted to make the run, so to speak. We haven't seen that before. This one did. Makes you wonder what was on board this thing. Why were they so desperate to get out of the Hormuz? They were trying to run the U.S. naval blockade. Bad idea. Bad idea, because now guess what? The U.S. Marines are in charge of that ship, and the engine room has been blown to high hell. Makes you wonder what was on that ship. What is stowed away? And I think President Trump, he kind of alludes to this idea. We are now seeing what's on board. To me, that's a little bit of a hint. That's like a hint, nudge type of dynamic. Now, let me do a real quick little scan here. I want to make sure we haven't missed anything else because some of this stuff is, in fact, minute by minute. No, I think that is the big update. Ladies and gentlemen, with that being said, I want to say something else here. We're going to do Super Chats now. I want to see what you folks, Super Chats and Rumble Rants, have to say about all of this. Then, after the Super Chats and Rumble Rants, we are going to have a little bit of an extended show today, if you stick around. But first off, let's go and take a look at these Super Chats and Rumble Rants. Okay? Let me go and pull these up if I can find them. It's going to be a good, nice Sunday. A lot of good news. Seriously, a lot of good news today. Thank you all for being here. If you have not already, please make sure to go ahead and make sure to like and subscribe. Pulling up the Super Chats, pulling up the Rumble Rants. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I have them up right here. And of course, you know we must put the hat on. All right. On a day like today, how could you not? How could you not? The first Super Chat of the day is from Rockman. He says, happy 420 Eve, everyone. Dude, weed. Can I tell you something? I swear, hand to God, I have never smoked weed ever in my entire life. You know that? Seriously, I'm telling the truth. In fact, I would suspect that I might be the only young man to make his way out of Portland, Oregon. Keep in mind, I'm from Portland, Oregon. I am probably the only person ever to make their way out of Portland without ever even smoking weed one time. Haven't even tried it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Not even once. Thank you very much. Hey, happy 420 Eve, brother. We have a Super Chat here from JB Behemoth. He says, hey, Matt, remember you mentioned your family came to the U.S. in the 1600s. Have you ever looked into seeing if you have a patriot ancestor? Well, all of my ancestors are patriots, of course. If this is something specific, I'm not sure. Maybe, are you talking about anybody that fought in the Revolutionary War? Because they did. Civil War too. All the great wars. World War II, they did them all. Thank you very much. I'm not sure specifically what that means, but yeah, if that's what you mean, then yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We have a Rumble Rant here from Random Dwarf. Rumble Rant. He says, Happy birthday, Matt. Just kidding, but still, God bless you and your wonderful wife. Take care of yourselves. Don't forget the hat. The hat is on today. We're going to have a nice sunny afternoon, I think. We're going to play with the kids outside, but we got to get through the show today. And like I said, we're going to have a little bit of an extended broadcast. Thank you I appreciate that down on Rumble. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Old Combat Vet, he says, I was shocked to learn my Republican grandparents who died 40 years ago voted Democrat in 2024 in person. Isn't that curious? Yeah, the Democrats, they're mailing mail-in ballots to people's gravestones. Maybe so. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. Mommy Mima says, this is exactly what I've been dealing with. I have 2 autistic children, had to wait 2 years for speech therapy. This is the lowest of the low. You know, if you're going to scam, like out of all the ways you can scam, out of all the ways you can defraud taxpayers, American taxpayers, you are stealing money from autistic children. It's evil. It's evil. You have to be evil in your soul. There is something corrupt in your soul deep down that compels somebody to do that. It is evil. I'm sorry to hear that. It's terrible. It's downright rotten. There's a corruption. I don't know. I'm not a theologian. I can't tell you what the problem is, but there is something wrong. Thank you very much, Mama Mima. Help Mama. What's up with all the mamas here today? Help Mama says this. American-born Al-Qaeda leader posted, quote, jihad is becoming as American as apple pie. 83% of people accused of jihadist terrorism are American citizens or legal residents from Numerica.org Insights Terrorism in America. Isn't it curious? As they say, this phrase is perhaps becoming a little bit of a trope at this point, but it is true nonetheless. If you import the third world, you become the third world. Can I say something a little bit rude, but it's true nonetheless? You want to know why, maybe I can't be specific. You want to know why some of the bad countries are bad and why some of the good countries are good? Let's use America as an example. Here's an example of a good, a righteous, a deferential country. You want to know why we are the way we are and some of these other countries are the way that they are? It's because of the people. Countries don't become the way that they are randomly or incidentally. It's because of the people that live in the country. Culture, where does culture come from? Every country's got a slightly different culture, different cultures. Culture comes from people. It's not a land issue. It's a people issue. There's nothing magic about American soil. There's nothing rotten about Haitian soil. In fact, Haiti is actually geographically in a pretty good spot. As an example here, it's a people issue. It's a human being issue. That's what makes a country great, or that's what makes a country rotten. It's true. It is true. And we're seeing the country get worse by nature of bringing in worse people. It's undeniable. Maybe it's an uncomfortable reality. Maybe people don't want to admit it. But I said this earlier on in today's broadcast. Guess what? Not all immigrants are equal. They're not. Depends on where they come from. Depends on the values that they have coming in, the culture that they come from, their beliefs. Not all immigrants are the same. Thank you very much. Thank you, Help Mama. We have a super chat from Cindy Williams. Says, in Georgia, at the bigger hospitals and offices, it's probably 4-1 Indian physicians. I've seen it firsthand. In Washington State, I've seen it. It's everywhere. Yeah. That's right. Thank you very much. It's a problem. Makes you wonder how many of them actually have proper credentials. Maybe not a lot. It's very concerning. Very concerning. Thank you very much. Down Fowler, Nana Dawn, says, what the hell? I spent 4 years in nursing school to get my degree. I know, isn't it a spit in the face? You busted your ass, midnight exams, you're studying all midnight, all night, you're sleepless, whatever, right? You did your research, you paid your dues. And somebody else paid $2,000 for a nursing degree in Mumbai. And then they came here on an H-1B visa and they took your job. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? It's terrible. Ruby Hoof, how can this be legal? It's not. It's not. Thank you, Ruby. It's not. Listen, here's the thing with laws. Laws only exist if somebody enforces them. That's the truth. Just because something is constitutional or unconstitutional or legal or illegal doesn't matter if nobody's willing to enforce the law. You know, we've had border laws on the books for a long time. The Democrats just don't enforce them. Did President Trump, after getting back in the White House, pass any new border security legislation? Did Congress pass new border security laws in the last 14 months? No. They've just been enforcing the ones that already exist. Here's the deal. I mean, this is the entire premise of a sanctuary city. The sanctuary cities, they've said, we're just not going to enforce the laws that exist. And there's nothing you can do about it. Laws are only real if you enforce them. And the Democrats said, we're going to selectively enforce the laws we like and not enforce the ones we don't like. That's their entire MO. So that's the truth. Kevin Stankiewicz, he says, we should evacuate all U.S. troops out of EU, NATO, and also U.S. citizens. Far-right Europeans' golden art to keep safe. Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Kevin. He says, leave Europe for the Muslims. So I think that's stupid. I'm going to push back on that a little bit. No, this mindset of surrendering territory, I know Europe is not my nation. I'm an American. It's my ethnic homeland. If you're a white person, Europe is your ethnic homeland, if you go back far enough. Listen, this whole approach of burying our head in the sand and giving territory to the far left or the radical or whatever else, no. How about we start taking back territory? How about then giving Europe to whatever, or giving California to the far left? How about we take back California and then we take back Oregon? How about how about the Europeans, they revitalize Europe? How about we take back Maine and Vermont and DC and Washington State and everywhere? How about we take back the country rather than isolating and relegating ourselves back in our little red state safe spaces? Let's take back the country. What would Jefferson do? What would Washington do? What would Jackson do? They would take back the damn country. That is what they would do. You got to be done running away. Got to be done giving up and running away and burying your head in the sand. That mindset has really resulted in this dynamic that we've currently found ourselves in. It is time for a generation of strong men to rise up and rectify the mistakes of a couple generations of weak men. That's my humble opinion. We're going on the offense is what we're doing. We're taking it all. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. No disrespect to anybody, of course. Ruby Hoove says, there should be serious consequences for the stolen election. Glad to see some movement. That's right. Thank you, Ruby. That's right. I think we're going to get it. Renbro says 3 things. 1, great show, brother. Kevin Stankiewicz has the best name in the chat. And also, I hate living in California. We might be turning California red again. We had a big expose video about that the other day. Thank you. It might be the case. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now, we have a massive Rumble rant down here from Lyriat. Can't forget about the Rumble rants. Says this, my grandmother was a lifelong Republican, hated Democrats, even voted against FDR. Last election, she voted for Harris. She never would have done that if she was alive. And there you have it. Thank you very much, Lyriat. Thank you very much. Footy Fam 215 says this, massive $50 Rumble rant. Says this, glad to see that the FBI and DOJ are moving forward, but I will not be happy until I see some perp walks on nationally broadcast TV. Keep up the good work, brother. America first. That's right. America first. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. People always forget this. I like to say it. It's a good reminder. If we want to put America first, we need to put Americans first. I think we're all on the same page, but it's worth saying. Thank you very much. That's right. We need accountability. We need to send a message that, hey, deep state, far left, Democrat establishment, whatever, you do not get to do this and you do not get to get away with it. The days of these anti-American subversive traitors acting with complete and total impunity, doing whatever they want, destroying our republic and getting away with it with maybe a slap on the wrist, over. We're putting an end to that. Thank you very much, Footy Fan. I'm with you, brother. Now I need to reload here and make sure I'm not missing anything, God forbid. Thank you very much. Oh, and I was going to miss some things. We've got a super chat from Kimmy Joe. Says, my son's brother's birthday is tomorrow, 4/20. You know what? My brother's birthday is tomorrow. My brother, his birthday is 4/20. It's tomorrow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Kimmy Joe. Hey, happy birthday to anyone whose birthday is tomorrow. Sean Prince, super chat, massive. He says, why can't we use satellite tech we used to see under the pyramids in Egypt to see Iranian tunnels and underground military stuff? How do you know we're not? This is what I would say. How do you know that we're not? I would imagine that we have a pretty comprehensive grasp of, at a minimum, what is going on the surface level all across Iran, on ground level, but also perhaps even what is going on underneath the ground. I would speculate, of course, I'm not in the Space Force, so I don't know what the hell they have, or CIA. I would imagine that they've got some pretty advanced tech that I don't know about, that you don't know about. Maybe somebody here knows about it. All I can do is speculate. I would imagine they've got a pretty good idea. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Prince. Rosemary Binder. Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate that. Beautiful name, by the way. Thank you, Rosemary. I appreciate that. JB Behemoth. He says, yes, a fellow son of the American Revolution. Okay, there you go. There, I guess I hadn't heard the term before, but no, there you have it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Poppy Katz, he says, I was a motorcycle cop when Clinton came to town. I escorted both Bushes, but Clinton was nasty to us because we used sirens during his escort. And so when he was leaving, we hit our sirens in his ears. I'm sure you've heard this stuff too, Poppy Cats. Thank you very much, by the way. Funny story. How many stories from former Secret Service officers have come out about the Clintons? How Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, both of them were just absolutely nasty, rancid people. Rude, just nasty people. We've heard all those stories. Thank you very much. I believe it. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Chris Marie. 100 days vape free. Chris Marie says, well, hey, congratulations. That's a big deal. 100 days vape free. Keep it up. Hey, keep it up. Keep it up. Or else. Keep it up or else. Thank you very much. We have Matt, $50 super chat from Derek Graham. Thank you, sir. He says, I believe we have to show strength to be able to control peace and be the world leader. As President Trump has said, 10 billion, 10 trillion, 10 gorillion. Gorillion, is that even a number? I don't know. I made it up. President Trump has said 10 gorillion times, peace through strength. What's that old quote? Well, who is it from Roosevelt? Somebody's going to correct me. I'm blanking on a Sunday morning. What does it say? Speak quietly, but carry a big stick. Who said that? Somebody's going to know. Something to that effect. And you know what? It's true. This triggers a thought on my brain. There's a term I like a lot, and I think this adequately, Teddy Roosevelt, this adequately describes President Trump's foreign policy. I call this the rattlesnake foreign policy. Why do I call it that? Well, what does a rattlesnake do? If you get a little bit too close, if you're aggressing against a rattlesnake, it doesn't bite, it doesn't strike immediately. It goes whatever the noise is. You ever seen a rattlesnake in real life? I can't do it. But anyway, the rattlesnake gives you ample warning. Warning, warning, get back, stay away, leave me alone. Warning, 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 warning. Only if you ignore all of those warnings, that tail is rattling. Only if you ignore all of those warnings, then does the rattlesnake bite. This is President Trump's foreign policy. He lets you know exactly how it is and what's going to happen if you ignore him. He tells you in advance, and he's serious. And only those that ignore him, then guess what? The fangs come out. So, rattlesnake foreign policy. When I was a 12-year-old boy, I was hunting with my grandfather, who's now deceased. Rest in peace. We were chucker hunting, a little bird out in eastern Oregon, if anybody lives in eastern Oregon. And we were out there in the countryside, and we stumbled upon a rattlesnake out in the eastern Oregon countryside. We had our shotguns with us. And my grandfather said, boy, stand back. I want to show you something. And I said, okay. And he blew the living shit out of that rattlesnake. It was a pink mist. And so, you call that animal cruelty if you want. I don't really give a damn. As a 12-year-old boy, that was just about the coolest thing I've seen in my entire life. Whoa. Watching your grandfather blow up a rattlesnake with a shotgun, like badass. Anyway, that was cool. Little side story there. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, I want to make sure I haven't missed anything now because sometimes they keep on coming in. Score Hit said this, Matt, you must be my brother from another mother. You are so much like me. Am I you? Are we looking in a mirror? No, thank you very much. I appreciate that. We'd probably get along. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. Hey, maybe we're clones. Maybe they're pumping us out of a lab somewhere. We're test tube babies. Thank you very much. Okay, you guys with the super chats, it's just getting insane. We have even more. Video for alla. This is, I think you might be from Sweden. I think we might have a Swede here. He said, thanks, Matt, for all that you do for so many. It even helps calm people down in my homeland of Sweden. You have an ability to point out the obvious before it is obvious for all. Martin, my Swedish brother. Thank you very much. You know, man, back in the day, in another life, I used to play video games on the internet with Swedes all the time. I grew up playing video games with Swedes on the internet. And I'll tell you something else. So I like the Swedes. I've always had a good relationship with Swedish people. My wife, my German wife, she actually speaks Swedish fluently. She used to work in Sweden for 5 years. My German wife. So she's speaking English and German and Swedish and a little bit of other stuff, a little bit of French. She's all over the place. We like Sweden. Sweden's great. We're praying in this household that the Swedes are able to carry out some deportations of their own. I think they probably need to do that. I think you probably agree. You've got places like Malmö and Rinkeby. I know about the bad neighborhoods. Good luck to you, Mr. Swede. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Martin. Thank you very much. God bless the great people of Sweden. Kathleen Pulford, this is a $100 massive super chat. Mrs. Pulford, and welcome back. I remember your name from yesterday. Thank you very much. She says, it's great to be in the right place this fine Sunday with all you fine folks. Thank you, Matt, for your mighty fine show. Thank you, Kathleen, and God bless you. It's a Sunday, of course. God bless everyone tuning in. Thank you very much, and welcome back to the show. I try to do my best. I'm always remembering everybody. If you've got a name, I'm going to remember it. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Pulford. That's a huge amount of support. Thank you very much. That's a big deal. Big deal. John Carmona. He says this, if the container ship was in the Gulf to Oman, can I read today? Good Lord. If the container ship was in the Gulf of Oman, wouldn't they be stopped trying to get into the Persian Gulf to make a delivery? They were coming out. So they made their way through the Hormuz. The U.S. naval blockade is in the Gulf of Oman. So the ship came from an Iranian port through the Hormuz and then ran into the U.S. naval blockade in the Gulf of Oman, which is on the exterior side of the Hormuz is what happened. So get the geography out there. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Time will tell what was on that vessel. Very curious dynamic. Thank you very much. Wojo says, if you found a bag of weed on the sidewalk on 420, would that be considered potluck? Good one. Hey, good weed joke. Thank you very much. Ruby Hoof says, happy birthday to everyone. That's right, Ruby. Thank you very much. I mean, hey, we've got 20,000 people here, or we did a minute ago. Odds are it's somebody's birthday every day in the audience. Maybe I need to start doing a birthday segment. It's somebody's birthday every day. Charles Armstrong says, do you really think anything is going to happen to all of these corrupt politicians? I don't. Time will tell. I'm crossing my fingers. All you can do is pray. Thank you very much, Mr. Armstrong. And another super chat from Ralph. 1976. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ralph. I appreciate that. Now, I want to make sure that I have not, Lord forbid I miss anything. Biggest Balls 69. Really? Mr. Biggest Balls 69. He says, God bless America. Now that, Mr. Biggest Balls, now that is a message I can get behind. He says, God bless the United States of America. Thank you, Biggest Balls 69. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point in the show, like I said, we're going to go into extended overtime today. What we're going to do here is we're going to watch together on Rumble exclusively. We're going to segue over to Rumble here in a moment. You know how we do it sometimes, maybe once a week or so. Nick Shirley, the great Nick Shirley, yesterday uploaded a video on the ground investigating California State's Stop Nick Shirley Act. This is what we talked about. The Democrats are trying to pass a bill to criminally punish independent journalists and independent investigators. So ladies and gentlemen, at this point, we are going to segue over to Rumble and watch this brand new Nick Shirley video together to see what the hell's going on here. I want to say, everyone on YouTube and Twitch, do me a favor. Segue with us over to Rumble, Matt Morris TV on Rumble. I'll give everybody 5 minutes or so to find their way over there. If you do not plan on hanging out for the after show on Rumble, then thank you very much for tuning in today. I will have 3 videos up on YouTube and Rumble later on this afternoon that you can watch at some point later today. Until I see you next tomorrow, then God bless. Stay safe. Thank you very much for being here. But at this point, we are segueing over to Rumble. Thank you very much. Stand by here, Rumble viewers. I need to flip the kill switch here.